Hello and welcome to the new episode of Access Up Space Defense and Security Podcast. Today's episode is something that will be going a deeper into the current affairs, that is the Iran, Israel, and the US war that is happening in the Middle East. The topic of today is the day Iran goes nuclear, the moment that could reshape the Middle East. I believe a lot of analysts and consultants are also trying to answer this question. What might happen when Iran actually successfully enriches the weapon grade nuclear or the uranium? And I think a lot of people have a different perspectives. And I came across one of the experts, that is Zara Mansoor, who is our today's guest. She's an intelligence and nuclear security expert. I found some of her perspectives very interesting, and that is the reason we have her on the podcast. And today's subject, she will be dissecting it on a deeper level, critically also looking at the aspect of not only what might happen, but what will be the repercussions and the implications on the world in general. So, Zara, welcome to the podcast. I think this is the first time we are having you.
Hi, Omkar. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely great to have you. Thank you very much, firstly, to uh, give us such precious time of yours. I know this is a busy time for a lot of experts like you in the world, because I think this is a time which no one had actually predicted. I mean, some of us saw coming, but didn't see the fact that it will be so much intense. Before we actually jump into the topic, can you briefly introduce yourself regarding what you do and how you ended up doing what you're doing at the moment?
Sure. I am Zara Mansoor and I am based in Islamabad, Pakistan, and I work in a field of security and intelligence analysis. My research is mainly focused on the nuclear programs of DPRK and Iran and how US maintains its non-proliferation policy towards both of these nuclear programs. Alongside my research, I also work as a digital intelligence practitioner where I analyze the open sources, identify the patterns, and create a structured analysis for the audience. I also run my own newsletter with the title The Strategic Ledger on LinkedIn, and where I keep posting my OSINT and tradecraft reports. Adding to this, I'm also a writer with 100 plus of my op-eds published across national and international platforms, where I contribute the insights on global security and strategic affairs. As well, have also served as the editor of my university magazine.
Interesting to hear this. I think I'll be adding the newsletter link in the description section. I think people who are listening to this episode will be able to subscribe to it later on once you finish listening to Zara's perspective.
I have
So yeah,
promoted my newsletter here.
yeah. Actually, I have been reading that, and it's quite really nice, especially the intelligence related subjects that you have mentioned
The
very
last report
recently.
was a hit, actually.
Yeah, it was. It was. I actually I was the first one. I think who hit the like or
Yes.
insightful like thing on that. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, moving into the actual topic of today. I'll start with Iran's nuclear weapons primarily. So, from your perspective, how close is Iran today to crossing the nuclear weapons threshold? And what signals would indicate that the point of no return has been reached? I believe some of us are seeing that there is already a no point of return. But yeah, I'd like to hear your perspective on this.
Sure. Before discussing that question or answering that question, first we need to dive into a little history or a year back when in June 2025 there were military strikes by Israel and United States on the two operating uranium enrichment sites of Iran, including Fordo and Natanz. At that time, Iran was not weeks ago but days ago of making a bomb. It had 60% of uranium at that time, and having 60% of uranium is no civilian purpose. It is not accident, it is a strategic decision because 2 to 5% of uranium is needed for power reactor and 20% is needed for research reactor. So if Iran adds 30% more to that 60%, which makes it to 90%, that is exactly the amount a state needs for weapons grade. So, but having a fissile material and having a bomb are two entirely different things. We cannot directly target a state if it is having fissile material, because states can acquire material if they are not having some dangerous designs to move ahead with. And quoting here, a US intelligence community's threat assessment report of 2025, that Iran was not making a bomb at that time. Iran had fissile material, but it had no intention to move ahead with its nuclear weapons. And even Khomeini, the then supreme leader of Iran, also did not authorize for making a weapons program at that time. So it had no intentions of making a bomb. But these strikes of June 2025, they changed the whole calculus. After that, there was a green signal by the Khomeini, and he authorized for the development of warheads for ballistic missiles. So strikes could not change one thing, and that was the political determination of Iran and its leadership, its people, and also it could not destroy the what that nuclear knowledge which Iran had. Because you can destroy buildings or infrastructure technology, you cannot destroy what is in a scientist's head. And this is something right now our world is discovering, that it is easy to bomb buildings, but it is really tough to reverse a nuclear knowledge. So, understanding where things are moving right now, it is that a situation is really alarming, and there are few signals which indicate point of no return. Number one is that covert site has been discovered in Iran, though it is based on rumors, but rumors do have some foundations, and it is a really debating topic right now inside the security rooms, and analysts are trying their best to collect information and uh, moving ahead with something that is fruitful for the audience to know. So, if there is a covert site, that is going to be really dangerous. And it is said that that site has always been existed, but it was undisclosed to IAEA, or International Watchdog. Second signal is that IAEA has become blinded. It has lost all of its visibility and contact with the Iranian nuclear program, or with those people or leaders which are responsible for the Iranian nuclear program. And the inspectors of IAEA have lost visibility, so nothing can be confirmed or verified by the international watchdog. Third is that a political decision has already been given, that green light, which I have discussed previously. So, right now, when people ask me what signals to watch for, I directly tell them that two of the signals have been triggered, and we cannot sit and wait here for the rest of our lives for the last signal to get triggered. And right here, when we are discussing this topic, it is not something hypothetical we are discussing, but it is what signals are actually flashing. There is something cooking inside Iran, but what that is, we cannot answer it right now because we are not having those sources. So there is something, but what is that? What Iran is building? Where is it building? And how fast it can build? No one can answer right now.
Absolutely. I think I agree on this final point, especially. No one can know it. I think the ground forces, even US was trying to deploy, but it's not so easy, basically, even to capture and basically go inside it, and because of the kind of geography that they have at the moment. So yeah, I
It is
think
not
I
about
agree on these
geography
points. Yeah.
as well, but states cannot reverse the nuclear knowledge. You can bomb the buildings. How can you reverse
Yes.
that knowledge which is existing inside Iran, inside the
Of course.
scientist's head?
Of course. Yeah. No, that is very true. And basically, just building up on exactly the kind of perspective that you have just presented. How would Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states react? And how would Iran's behavior be molded once it acquires the nukes?
It is going to be a, what strategists call it, a structural shock for whole of the Middle Eastern region.
Yeah.
sudden and irreversible. So it would be a psychological, political, and an economic earthquake in the Middle East, and it will not only be limited to the security development. Moving ahead towards Israel, there would be three immediate responses by Israel. One would be military confrontation. It might move towards a direct confrontation with Iran, targeting its nuclear scientists, its infrastructure, or trying to degrade the nuclear capabilities Iran is acquiring or attained. And second is shadow warfare. Israel might move towards intelligence penetration inside Iran, using these cyber tools or conducting cyber warfare operations against Iran. Third is there might be a reluctant deterrence shift, which is, I guess, if happens, would be a strategically matured response from Israeli side, but it is less likely to happen because in case it starts deterring Iran, it would have to make public its own nuclear weapons. And it still does not accept or recognizes its nuclear weapons. So if it moves towards deterrence or recalibrates its nuclear posture, it would be hard for Iran as well. But if it moves towards deterrence, I think it is going to be a really matured response from Israel's side. Coming towards Saudi Arabia, in 2018, there was a statement by MBS Mohammed bin Salman that if Iran goes nuclear, we will follow the suit. And it is a strategic decision, not an emotional response. This country has financial capability, financial, all the finances and also the political determination. It can move towards nuclearization, and it has clearly stated that it is not going to hesitate. Once Iran acquires nukes, Saudi Arabia will follow the suit. So there are three tracks which Saudi Arabia might follow in the aftermath of Iran becomes nuclear. Number one would be that it asked United States for the enhanced security guarantees, and in that case, there might be a defense pact between Saudi Arabia and United States at that point, which has never occurred until now, but there might be a. And second is that it can move towards civilian nuclear technology, which it has always wanted to acquire but could not. So that is also a possibility on the Saudi Arabia's part. Coming towards Gulf states, there would be a collective panic and realignment when we are discussing Gulf states uh, in the aftermath as Iran goes nuclear. So, discussing Qatar, Bahrain, and UAE, there would be a crisis of protection and realignment in within these states. As, as we have already know that these states are really small when it comes to land or population, but these states are really rich and wealthy in nature, and also they have always remained under the security umbrella of external power. Earlier it was Britain, and today it is United States. So have nuclear Iran will change the whole threat calculus, as there would be a coercive language by Iran that in case you are uh, having or leveraging United States on your soil against Iran, that is going to be really dangerous for all of these states, Gulf states. So this is something which we are right now experiencing, that Iran is constantly targeting Gulf states just because of the fact they are hosting United States against Iran on their soil. So it is going to be more catastrophic in case Iran goes nuclear. There would be an implicit message, direct message to these states. Beware of hosting Iran on your soil against us. Moving towards how Iran would behave, this is something really critical because the Iran's behavior would change the entire security architecture of the Middle Eastern region. There are two school of thoughts I would discuss. First is aggressive school of thought, and analysts of that advocate aggressive school of thought, they believe that Iran would get emboldened or become more confident and an aggressive state after acquiring nukes, and it would support proxy forces and directly challenge the uh, status quo of United States. And next is stabilization school of thought. Because once the state goes nuclear, it becomes confident as well. It is more responsible. We can see that in case of Pakistan and India, they both have remained at loggerheads, and most of the time they still are. But they are very responsible nuclear weapon states. They know that they cannot afford conventional provocations. So, after becoming nuclear, this school of thought believes that Iran would move towards stability or uh, bringing peace inside Middle Eastern region. And I think if Iran goes nuclear, there would be, it has ties with Hezbollah and Houthis as well. So those proxy forces would become so emboldened. So that is a threat as well for the entire Middle Eastern region or the states existing in West Asia.
Yeah, I think I like that point that you mentioned about the responsible nuclear states. Uh, I believe we have India and Pakistan have engaged in a lot of conflicts in the very recent time last year as well, and we
Yes.
don't know what might even happen in the coming years. Looking at the current, heated up situation that China might, is targeting to basically annex Taiwan as well. So. That term responsible nuclear state, it's something that is quite rare. I believe, I mean, of course we are discussing about Iran, but in the East Asia there is North Korea as well,
Yes, yes. I
which
forgot to mention that point.
yeah, yeah, you
DPR
can mention it, yeah. Yes.
DPRK is also, it has become really confident state after acquiring nukes. It does not entertain little provocations on its part. It is
Yes.
really confident and avoids to the core when it comes to having, you know, uh, confrontation with South Korea or United States. It knows that it holds something precious now, so it does not
Yeah.
entertain little provocations or conflicts.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is very important. I believe the point that you mentioned, it's really good. And going ahead on the capability side, I think it's just a follow up on what we just discussed. If Iran achieves nuclear capability, does it mean Israel's long-standing strategy to prevent it has failed, or will Israel shift towards deterrence and containment?
It is the most strongest question and really important to discuss. There are two sides. Side A is that Israel failed and Stuxnet assassination and military confrontation, everything it tried and it got failed. Side B would tell you that states do adapt, and Israel might adapt its policies and deal the threat very differently, and it might move from prevention to deterrence. So it is not basically a yes or no answer, but it is that it holds two truths. Moving ahead, Israel did not simply try and fail. It delayed the Iranian nuclear program with an estimation of 10 to 15 years. So, precise question right now is not if Israel failed, but if Israel's preventive tactics held any realistic endpoint. So, most honest intelligence analysts will right now tell you that it was always delay, not prevention. Because a state like Iran, which is having nuclear knowledge and these sites, infrastructure, technology, everything, it is really not possible to prevent it. You can delay it, and Israel has done it by using so many of the tactics. There is a begin doctrine I would like to emphasize here that uh, came into being in 1981, which means that strike first and never ask questions ever. And that's what Israel has done. In two cases, it worked in Iraq and then in Syria in 2007. But Iran's case is very difficult and different because Iran's nuclear sites are scattered. They are buried deep inside. Also, it has links with Hezbollah and it has missiles, and so it can only be delayed, it cannot be prevented. And moving towards deterrence, if Israel adopts deterrence, I have already mentioned that it would have to make public its nuclear weapons. It have to recalibrate its nuclear posture and accept publicly that it holds nuclear weapons. So that is going to be difficult for Israel. And second is that it intensifies its conventional weapons, like having missile defense systems, long range strikes, and then intelligence penetration. It can move towards that as well, penetrating deep inside Iran with its intelligence operations. That is a possibility for Israel as well.
That's very interesting. I have one point to add, might not completely align exactly on the kind of points we were discussing. But as we spoke about Israel being a failure, I heard this a rumor from some of the analysts and the open source kind of things that I keep on reading and researching. Uh, that I think one in every three person in the armed forces and the intelligence of Iran, that is IGRC, I think, and they actually are like the Mossad spies. But unfortunately, since past years, it has happened that these people have gone rogue. They have turned into double agents, which is why even Iran is having an upper hand to basically carry out such precision strikes. I mean, of course, the media narrative will always fall towards Israel, uh,
Okay.
because, of course, the Gulf states. I mean, like I would like to just mention this point openly because a lot of
They are
we had
controlling
discussed
the
this with a lot of
media.
yeah. Yes, yes, of course, of course. I think what had happened with Iraq also back then, I mean, even the
Mm.
whole of the Gulf state wanted to take down primarily Iraq back then. It was not only that United States came and just started doing what it wanted to do. It had support of rest of the countries in the Middle East, and I think that's what we are currently observing in Iran as well. That the media narrative is completely inclined towards Israel.
Israel.
And I'm not saying that, of course, you shouldn't report on either of the side, but I believe as an analyst, you need to look at both the sides.
But
And
Mossad is actually
uh,
really active inside Iran,
yes,
and that's what has leveraged Israel.
absolutely, yeah. So I believe this can be a different podcast in itself regarding the intelligence and espionage case. But yeah, I just wanted to basically add this point for the audience. This might give
Intelligence
some leads.
podcasts are really interesting, but they are risky as
Absolutely.
well.
Yes, yes, yes. That's why we actually, prior to basically organizing a podcast, we go through a detailed kind of research, check with the experts what things can be said and what things can't be said, because
Yes.
you can't basically reveal everything right now. We work here with some of the NATO institutions. I cannot basically come on
Even if we
board and
reveal, that
just
would be the
start
last
speaking a
time
lot
we would be
about
revealing.
what is happening inside of the system. But yeah, you can definitely share some of the, I believe, surface level knowledge, which is fair enough for the general people or the general audience to basically get a grasp of what is happening in the sector. So yeah, I think
Yes.
moving ahead on the topic of Iran's nuclear arm race, could a nuclear Iran trigger a regional nuclear arms race, particularly involving countries like Turkey and Egypt? I think Turkey, we have been seeing a lot of activities. It has been quite a lot reactive and active both since past few years. So what is your thought about this?
Um, Answering that question, I would like to mention a little part of Saudi Arabia, which I have discussed earlier, because it said that it would follow the suit in case Iran goes nuclear, and that is very important. So, in case Saudi Arabia goes nuclear, there would be Turkey, because Erdogan has mentioned in the past that it is very unacceptable for our state to see any other state in the region acquiring nukes when we cannot. And right now, you know that Turkey is a member of NATO, and that's the only constraint it is having. Otherwise, it is having financial capacity, that capability, that political determination as well. So it would move towards nuclearization once there is nuclear Iran. There would be Saudi Arabia, and then there is going to be Turkey, because major regional power and having no nuclear weapons, that is unacceptable for Turkey. So it is a complicated case because it is also having a NATO membership. Moving towards Egypt, Egypt, is the first Arab country that was pursuing nuclear weapons, and then it abandoned after signing nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So having that status of largest Arab nation and without a deterrent, that would be unacceptable for Egypt. So can you see that domino effect or domino chain? Like once Iran goes nuclear, there would be Saudi Arabia in line, and after that Turkey and
Yes,
then Egypt. So it is going to change the whole security architecture of Middle Eastern region.
absolutely. I think that scenario is very kind of a live horror, I would say. If
Mhm.
we see it, because I mean, it's not that you don't want these countries to have their own security, but from a regional perspective, I would say that these are also the regions which are resource heavy, and I think a lot of extremist activities are also carried out in these regions as well, on a lot of bigger scale. So that kind of weapon, it if it gets in the hand on the wrong hands, I think that will possibly start the end of the world, we can say. In
Yes.
general, I won't even call it a world war III. It will be the end of the world, I think. If it goes in the wrong
But
hands.
don't you think if these states would be having nuclear weapons, there would be much stability in the world?
That is also a possibility for sure. But there are other ways also. I mean, like, you don't know, like, if someone, like, I think Chechnya, North Korea, and all, this some of these countries which are there. I don't think so. You can easily trust these countries in a normal scale, on a normal scale, I would say, because they don't really fit the bracket of what the other nations are at the moment. I mean, of course, we are seeing dictatorship in China and Russia as well, but it is not what it is in North Korea. It is very different. What is in North Korea? I think Russia
But
and
we can
China are far
still
ahead.
not trust
Yeah, yeah.
North Korea with the weapons.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is I think which kind of creates a bifurcation, I would say, sometimes for the analysts to give out an opinion on that scale. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just looking at the worst scenarios possible, because I mean, if there are 10 people in a group, you'll always find one person who is rogue. That
Yes.
doesn't happen, that everyone is good, in the room. At least one of them goes rogue, and then the things start kind of
The
getting
entire
bad, basically.
landscape gets changed.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. That's what happens, basically. And yeah, moving ahead, again, this is more about the nuclear side of Iran only. How would a nuclear Iran reshape the strategic role of global powers like the United States in the Middle East?
For decades, US kept telling all of these states not to build your own nuclear weapons. We have got you covered because all of those states are under the security umbrella of United States. It kept telling them that our military protection is your security guarantee. So the moment Iran goes nuclear, there would be a question raised: did America really deliver on that promise? So first 1 to 2 years for United States, the moment Iran goes nuclear would be a credibility management crisis for United States because it would be hard for the hegemon to accept the nuclear Iran and convince all of those Gulf states to accept nuclear Iran and adjust their policies according to uh, Iran, which is now a nuclear weapon state. At that time, it would be a nuclear weapon state. So it is going to be tough for United States to convince these states, and also there would be questions raised on its credibility of United States that it could not prevent Iran from going nuclear. There would be three immediate US challenges. First would be reassuring Israel because that's the strategic ally of United States, and US might increase the security guarantees to Israel, and that security umbrella would be enhanced or broadened because Israel would be threatened to the core if Iran goes nuclear, because at that time Iran would be another state having nuclear weapons in the same region where Israel is. And second is holding the Saudi line, because that is going to be a really hard bargain. Right now, Saudi Arabia is still insisting to have its own civilian nuclear reactors. So at that time, and it has also stated that it is not going to hesitate in case Iran goes nuclear. So that would be a hard bargain for United States. And number three would be managing domestic fallout. Whatever government would be in the Oval Office by the time Iran goes nuclear, there would be so much pressure on it, that public pressure. And at that time, there would be hawks which were demanding the military confrontation, and on the other side, there would be realists demanding deterrence and containment. So it is going to be arduous for United States to maintain all of these things.
Interesting. And if Iran ultimately crosses the nuclear threshold, despite, I mean, the sanctions that it has and the pressure that is being put, especially by the United States, what does that reveal about the limits of hard power in stopping nuclear proliferation?
In case Iran goes nuclear, there would be a question: who failed? Intelligence community, diplomats, military personnel, security architects, and to be honest, no one individually, but all of them collectively. So, hard power, discussing hard power, which has been applied over Iran, there were sanctions, and those were not. Um, those were the sanctions which were really hard, and that is actually a economic strangulation for Iran. So those
Yes.
sanctions have destroyed the whole of the economics of Iranian state, and it has also cut off Iran from swift international banking and frozen out uh, Iran from the global economy. So it has been really tough for Iran, those sanctions. Number two was, in terms of hard power, there were covert operations. You must be aware of Stuxnet. That was the cyber
Yes.
warfare operation on Iran, and it destroyed centrifuges of Iran at Natanz power plant. And also, between 2010 to 12, there were assassinations where nuclear scientists were killed on the road, on the streets, they were killed. And then there were military strikes in June 2025, which destroyed two operating uranium operating power plants of Iran, of Natanz and Fordo. So all of these points come under hard power, and but knowledge was not destroyed, and Iran is still determined to uh, make a bomb or move towards the development of nuclear warheads. It all From all of this, we can conclude that there are three uncomfortable truths. One is that determination always defeats pressure, and second is that sanctions are always applied on population, not on programs. And third is knowledge problem. You cannot reverse the knowledge. And that's what we are witnessing in case of Iran. So here I would like to emphasize, like, why states actually go nuclear. So when Iran is moving towards nuclearization, it is not a irrational decision. It is very rational, and it has seen it in the pattern, that historical pattern it has seen, because there was Saddam Hussein. He cooperated with the weapons inspectors, and later on, he was overthrown and he was executed. And then there was
Yeah.
Muammar Gaddafi, who was who was pursuing nuclear weapons and then abandoned that program in 2003, I guess. And after that, he was captured and he was also, assassinated. So. Uh, and there is a example of DPRK I would like to quote here, that the moment it went nuclear, it is now really confident, and United States thinks twice before striking North Korea. So Iran has seen this pattern, that historical pattern, and now it is moving towards nuclearization, because it now thinks that only nuclear weapons, or holding that nuclearization, that status of nuclear weapon states, is can save its regime, because its regime survival has become a really concerning issue for Iran.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned in between about the Iran's the pressure being put on Iran. It was basically banished from SWIFT international payment system. I don't know whether you know about this fact, but this was also kind of a rumor, but we can say if you dissect in a detailed manner, this might be true as well. So I think in March 2023, President Zelensky had fired uh, his defense minister, and I think some subordinate people as well from his ministry. And I think at that time only they received some huge consignment of weapons from Europe and US. Fast forward to I think May or June, sorry, to October. Iran basically, yeah, so actually, it was Hamas who carried out, an attack which was very strategic, using very minimal resources as compared to what Israel is. But the kind of weapons they received at that time, it is said, I follow one of the newsletter, and I think the founder of that companies also came on my podcast called Militant Wire. I think Lucas Weber is the founder, and through them only actually I got to know that this might be the potential trail that was left. And Iran actually picked up those weapons from the black market, which the defense minister of uh, Ukraine had sold it. And then those weapons were basically supplied to Hamas, and that's how basically the attacks were carried out. The whole point that I'm trying to say, that sanctions, everything is fine as well, but even with in the case of Russia, uh, it has found a way to get its resources into the market. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't understand this thing of West in general. They ban the Russian oil, but at the end, India is, bringing that oil to the refinery in Jamnagar, Gujarat, which is the biggest one, I think the world's second biggest oil refinery. From there, they are selling it again to the Europe. So at the end of the day, you are using the Russian oil at the end of the day. So I don't understand this. But the thing is, like, I feel sanctions are giving much more upper hand to the opposition party than the
Yes.
something, being transparent. So sometimes I feel these people want them to grow aggressive, possibly, but we don't know what kind of things might be there. Even in Iran, I think right now what we are seeing, and I, having had a lot of intelligence professionals on the podcast, especially the CI, I don't think so. An intelligence professional, if they want to change the regime, will go on a full blown attack on a country.
Yes.
They'll try to basically infiltrate it to the level where you psychologically change the opinions of the people and then basically take down the regime. Because I think a full blown attack is not the way. It will even give an upper hand now to help them stay basically for a few more decades rather than basically taking it down. So I feel this kind of sanctions and pressures, I don't know to what level it is effective, but as far as I have seen, it is giving birth to more illegal ways basically into the market.
This is
Whether
what we
it can
think.
be anything.
And
Yeah, yeah.
United States is not thinking like this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the U.S. intelligence professionals, some of them do not agree to this fact completely. Even, I mean, keeping aside the Iran's topic, even the Ukraine war that is happening, it was an intelligence failure completely. I mean, of course, I work in the space and defense industry, primarily in the military satellite, and there is no, shame in accepting this fact. There are companies, satellite companies, who want the war to go on. Legit. These satellite companies are surviving because the Ukraine war is going on.
I would
They
like to add a
want the
point
war
here.
to. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Audit.
that
Yes,
that
yes.
seems like constructive chaos. They are constructing chaos so they can benefit from it.
Chaos. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yes, absolutely. And this is exactly what I think you use a very professional and a very sophisticated term, constructive chaos. It's the right spot on, I would say. This is exactly I wanted to mention, when we were talking about if all the countries in the Gulf have nuclear kind of, weapon, there might be, I think Africa will be very much sidelined because not everyone has the kind of resources it have, and things might go very much bad over there. Latin America equally as well, and I think then Central Asia little bit that is left. So we don't know, this kind of constructive chaos might be something that we might see down the line. I mean, legit, I'll like to mention that, space and satellite industry, we work very closely in the military satellite segment, and I say it very openly. This industry primarily surviving because of war. I cannot take the name of the
Mhm.
companies from Europe and US, but legit, and it feels sad to basically, I mean, there are some satellite imagery companies who are really trying to do something good in the commercial civil infrastructure management to, provide this kind of satellite imagery services. Unfortunately, the business is not going well, and they have to also get into this defense line. So very sad that, it's a out and out blood money that is coming out in the space
It
and
is
satellite
sad, but it is
industry.
their business.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we can't do anything. I mean, like, I cannot exclude myself. We are in the same line as well. But yeah, I think that's the whole point of, accepting. I think accepting the fact makes the things much more easier to go
Yes.
down the line. Of course, there are some companies who are trying to do something good as well. It's not that, Ukraine is not having any kind of support, but rather than avoiding the war, you want it to go on. It doesn't make any sense that in that way. But yeah, anyways, I think this is a different topic to discuss as well. We were just actually discussing regarding, the kind of ethics related to, the full blown out war, so we came to this topic. Now we're at the, I would say, end of this episode. So this question is completely a free hand for you. uh, you can answer it the way you want, and you can also, provide some perspectives of how it will be helpful for the students, research scholars, and all. Because apart from the industry professionals, it's the secondary audience of the podcast that we have is the mainly the research scholars and the students. So yeah, this question is completely giving you a free hand, Zara. What
Mm.
message would you like to send to the world leaders today before Iran reaches threshold, and 20 years from now, when historians write about this moment, what do you think they will be saying that the world got wrong about Iran?
One message to the world leaders, that stop treating it like a non-proliferation issue, because it has stopped being that years ago. It is more like a survival calculation. Until and unless you provide Iran with a security guarantee which it desires and believes, and every sanction, resolution, negotiation, strike, or intelligence penetration is just another noise for Iran. Moving ahead towards your another question, what historians would say, I think historians would say that we confused activity with strategy. We were too busy with isolating Iran and sanctioning, striking. We look busy in all of these things, but we never uh, bother to uh, dive deep into Iran and its concerns, like why it wants to develop nuclear weapons. And is it actually wrong when it is going towards nuclearization, or saying that it needs nuclear weapons for its survival or for safeguarding its state sovereignty? So I think that is something which historians would be discussing, which we are ignoring right now.
Absolutely, that's a good point to take away. It's about like survivability. That's a nice perspective. I believe a lot of questions have popped up during the conversation, um, especially about the intelligence thing. Actually,
Yes.
would be nice to basically do, down the line a podcast on that. I mean, after this episode, whenever I think you're available next.
Yes, sure.
So yeah, thank you very much, Zara, for very insightful conversation. This is the first time we actually spoke about this topic since the war broke out. We were kind of, busy with other guests as we had other topics lined up. And I think in this series, I think yours is the first episode that we are putting out regarding this current war situation that is going on. Hoping to have you again on the podcast, Zara. Thank you very
Sure.
much and have a good day.